This is Radio TV Phono Nut with another quick video, hopefully. This is an Imperial little 4-speed kitty record player. Really nothing unusual about it on the surface. And I really wouldn't be wasting much time with this, but I'll open it up in a minute and I'll show you why I'm wasting time with it. Let's turn it on and see what it does. We'll get the record on there. Let it warm up a minute. Bad filter capacitor, no surprise there. The cartridge has output, but it has a little skipping problem, just like the Masterwork record player that we recently serviced. We'll address that issue shortly. Alright, let's open it up now. Okay, here's the underside. Typical little single tube chassis. Most of the parts look to be Japanese, except for the motor and the filter capacitor, which is a Temple branded cap, and it was sourced from Mexico. The selenium rectifier might possibly be United States made, but I don't know. Our tube is a 25C5 Hitachi, and generally the way they design these is the tube filament is 25 volt and it's wired in series with the 90 volt winding on the turntable motor. Now let me see if I can show you what makes this thing a little bit special. I don't know how well the camera is picking this up because of the lighting situation, but this motor is date coded the 43rd week of 1970, and it does not look like this is a replacement motor. In fact, I would seriously doubt it anyway, because these record players were really cheap when new, and when something catastrophic like a motor failed, then most people wouldn't pay to have the motor replaced. They'd just throw it away and go spend another $14.95 on a new record player. So with that said, we're going to say the motor is original, and this, up until this time, this would have to be the newest tube type kitty record player that I've seen. Most everybody else had gone solid state by about 67 or 68, but there were some holdouts, and apparently Imperial was one of them. In fact, I have two more Imperial record players that are similar to this. One's from 68 and the other one is from 69. Now it's interesting, the one from 68 has an amp very similar to this one, but it uses a silicon diode instead of a selenium rectifier. And the other two obviously use a selenium rectifier. I don't know when they went solid state, but I've seen some solid state versions on eBay and on the Goodwill site, so maybe one day I'll have to obtain one, or one of the, what it looks like one of the early solid state ones with the 4-speed motor, and just see what the date code is. Alright, enough blabbering. Let's replace this filter capacitor and see what happens. Okay, I replaced the filter capacitor, and the 10K ohm screen grid dropping resistor was up to about 15K, so I went ahead and replaced that. It works about like what you'd expect a kitty record player to sound like. The skipping issue, I believe, was just due to the fact that, you know, low compliance, high output cartridge, and me trying to play a very bass intensified stereo record. I checked the tracking pressure, and it's about 11.5 grams, which is really the norm for these kind of cartridges, but this record here seems to play okay. And it's already in sad shape, so no fear of ruining anything.
Celebrate, celebrate, dance to the music. Celebrate, celebrate, dance to the music. Celebrate, celebrate, dance to the music. Celebrate,
Okay. Here's the repaired chassis. Pretty much all I did was replace the electrolytic filter capacitors. I even left the original selenium rectifier alone, basically just because of what it is. A 1970 record player with tubes and a selenium rectifier. That's very unusual. And besides, this is not going to be one that I'm going to be using on a daily basis, so I really don't care. Really, the only modification I made was adding a 22 microfarad cap across the cathode bias resistor. That'll give it a little more volume. Most of these kiddie record players don't have a lot of volume, and I think they were designed that way on purpose so that parents wouldn't be annoyed by childish nursery rhyme records being played loud enough to hear all over the house. And all that's left is to take the drive mechanism apart and clean it and lubricate it, but that's really not a huge big deal right now. It obviously works. One thing I'd like to point out is this particular drive mechanism doesn't even have rubber motor isolation grommets, and that means this was the cheapest mechanism available. The motor is bolted directly to the mounting plate here. Now the disadvantage of that is motor noise is transferred to the rest of the mechanism, and once again with a kiddie record player that might be advantageous. In case the kid leaves it on, it'll make enough noise that possibly an adult walking by might hear it and turn it off. Okay, that ought to about do it. Thanks for watching, and maybe next time we'll do a radio. We've been doing a lot of record players here lately.